This is Dave Lappin, and welcome to the Coherence Field podcast. I know I have mentioned this topic before in other podcasts, but it's so important I wanted to mention it again. Sometimes the most meaningful shifts in the nervous system don't come from some big spiritual breakthrough. They come from something so simple and unexpected that you almost miss it. For me, that moment came when my body suddenly felt smooth. And I know that might sound like an odd word to describe what's happening inside the body, but once you experience it, you know exactly what it means. It feels like the internal friction disappears. Coherence is when the whole system, the body, the mind, and the nervous system, falls into a smooth, synchronized rhythm. The tension patterns that normally live quietly under the surface just aren't there anymore. Your system isn't trying to hold anything together. It's just flowing. And what's interesting is that this just didn't happen to me just one time. It happened 3 distinct times. And each one helped me understand something deeper about coherence in the nervous system. Let me tell you about them. The first time it happened was after a massage. I got home afterwards and sat down, and I remember noticing something very unusual. My body felt incredibly fluid. Not relaxed in the normal sense, it felt like the internal density had dissolved. The best way I can describe it is that normally our bodies feel a little bit like they're made of packed sand. There's structure, but there's also a subtle tightness everywhere. But that day, it felt like the sand had turned into water. Everything was smooth. My breathing was effortless. My thoughts were quiet, and stress didn't seem to stick. It just moved through. At the time, I didn't fully understand what was happening. I just knew something in my nervous system had shifted. Now, the second time was sitting in a sauna. Now, saunas are interesting because heat does something powerful to the nervous system. It relaxes muscles, it increases circulation, and it also begins to melt those deeper holding patterns that we carry without realizing it. And after about 10 minutes sitting there, I felt the same thing again, the smoothness. The internal edges were gone. My body wasn't resisting itself anymore. And when that happens, something else changes too. Your mind slows down, your breathing deepens, your awareness becomes wider and calmer. What's happening in those moments is that the nervous system is shifting out of survival mode and into coherence. Now, the third time actually happened just last night, and this one was different. I was just sitting on the couch. No massage, no sauna, nothing special. And suddenly, I noticed the same sensation returning. The body felt smooth again. The internal tension patterns were gone. But what struck me was this. This time, it did feel like something caused by the environment. It felt like the nervous system had learned how to settle itself. And that's a really important transition. Because the goal isn't just to occasionally experience these states. The goal is for the nervous system to start recognizing this as its natural baseline. When the body feels smooth like this, several things are usually happening at the same time. Muscle tension drops, breathing becomes more rhythmic, the nervous system shifts toward parasympathetic regulation, brainwave activity becomes more coherent, and stress signals move through the body faster instead of getting stuck. This is what people often refer to as nervous system coherence. It's when the body stops fighting itself. Now, the obvious question is, how do we move towards this kind of smoothness more consistently? Well, there are 3 simple practices that can help the nervous system learn this state. And the first step is to soften the body, and this is the most important one. So instead of trying to relax through effort, simply soften the body. Let the shoulders drop, soften the jaw, let the belly loosen. Imagine the muscles melting downward. What you're doing is sending signals to the nervous system that it doesn't need to stay in protective mode. The body doesn't need to stay in the fight or flight mode, which can be a baseline mode for a lot of people without realizing it. The next step is slow, rhythmic breathing. Just allow the breath to slow down. You don't need to force deep breathing. Just let the inhale and the exhale become smooth and even. Think of the breath like a gentle wave rolling in and out. When breathing becomes rhythmic like this, the nervous system naturally shifts towards coherence. And then the third step is something many people overlook. You simply let sensations move through the body without trying to control them. Sometimes that might be warmth, sometimes tingling, sometimes a subtle emotional release. If the system feels safe enough, it will start unwinding stored tension all on its own. And what I've noticed over time is that the nervous system begins to remember this state. The smoothness appears more easily. Stress passes through faster. And the body doesn't feel like it's constantly holding tension under the surface. It's almost like the system begins reorganizing itself around coherence. So if you ever notice a moment where your body suddenly feels incredibly smooth, pay attention to it, because that moment might be showing you something important. It may be the nervous system revealing what it feels like when it's finally allowed to settle. And once the body learns that state, it often wants to return there again and again. In the next episode, I want to talk about something closely related to this. It's why some people seem to naturally create a field of calm around them when their nervous system becomes coherent, and how that coherence can begin affecting the people around you. I'll see you next time.